Hi guys, my name is Arhant Kumar and welcome to my new Python tutorial video. In this video I'll be teaching you or helping you solve these 7 problems: the Collatz problem, how to create a histogram, the logic problem, how to print double characters, count even values from a list and create a list with values less than 10, and check for a palindrome. So we'll begin this. So let's start. So I'm using an online IDE, so it supports Python version 3.4.3, just in case. So we'll start with the Collatz problem. Okay, here. So I'm gonna explain you what the Collatz problem is. The Collatz problem is basically, it says that if you take any value, okay, let's say any value n, if n is even, then divide it by 2. If not, then multiply it by 3. Multiply it by 3 and then add 1 to it. And if you do this continuously, okay, in a loop till, you will get 1. So this is the Collatz conjunction problem, so we'll solve it. So I defined a function called Collatz, which will take a value n to start with, and I have a terms list. So in this list I have already element n which I'm inputting, and using the string function I'm converting it to a string. Okay, so while I am using a while loop because we know the end result should be 1, so till it is not equal to 1 I will check if it is even. If it is even, I'll use integral division by 2, which you will say it's not necessary, you can do this like this. I'm doing integral division because with normal division you will get a 0.00, which I don't want. Okay, else if it is not even, that means it's odd, n is equal to 3 times n plus 1, so we're updating the value. So if it was addition I would have used plus equal to, but there's nothing like multi equal to something like that, and even multiple operation. So after doing this, if it's even, divide by 2, I'll append this value, okay, to my terms, and I'll just print term 0. So it's indexing. I'm printing the first element of the term, that is you started with, you ended with -1, terms -1. So this is the indexing also here. Also, this is the last value of a element of a list you're getting. The working is basically just printing what from which term to what and how you came to 1. Okay, let's try 13 and see what's the answer. We'll run it, and here it will give you 1. You start with, you ended with 13, 40, 20, 10. Let's try 20, 120. Yeah, we get same 120, and we go on. There are odd values which multiply 3 and 1, and I still get 1. So really great code and all. Kind of simple basic terms. If you know lists, you know even odd program, and with the while loop, all these 3 combined, you get this problem, which I can say is of low medium difference. Okay, so yeah, I'll just save it and we'll go to the next program, that is a histogram. Okay, here looking at my code, you would say my code is a bit let's say complex or more complex. Here if I run it, we'll get this type of output with spaced out everything nicely and all. But if you just want to print a basic histogram, so I'll just remove the title part. If you want to print a basic histogram, so I'll just comment out the code and I'll tell you how the logic behind it, how I got to this code. So I'll define histogram. It will take in 2 values, a list and a character. Okay, so just to print it, I'll just say for e in list. Okay, just print e times character here. So if I run it with this program, and I'll just run it, there you get a pretty basic graph with no value indication into count and all. Let's say you want to know the value. If it's 2, it's 10 behind it, and I have 100 to very low values like varying values. So let's say string e, because e is a integer, e plus this. We'll run it. So it's basically concatenation, and this a repeated concatenation E into character. So this was our result. Yeah, it's not that clean, so we'll just add a space to it, and there. Now if you see there's a problem, it's in the line indentation. Two, it's before it is not aligned. So to fix this lining issue, here I'll just copy this, I'll just cut it. If E is less than 9, or less than or equal to 9, this means if the value E is 9, that means it's a single digit character. I'll print it like this with this, and here we'll just copy it, and we'll experiment and see how to adjust and fine tune it. Okay, so if I use LF now, E is less than or equal to 99, and E is greater than or equal to 10. In that case, that means it's a 2-digit value. We're going to print same. Let's say else. We print it like. Let's see here. You get this. So let's say I add one space here to fix or to count for the extra space. Now you see there that's value, but what about 100? It's not. We'll say reduce 100 by 1, but no, let's take it if we do not. So it is increased all values by 1 and run it. Say not 100 though. We don't want to increase 100, but all the remaining values. So it's like in this pattern, you'll see it's in this pattern, diagonal pattern. And yeah, that's where beautification comes. And let's say you want to leave a line from the top, so just print like this blank print, not in the for loop, outside the for loop. Just use an empty print that will leave one line here, so from top, so it's not sticking. Yeah. Now let's say you want a title topic which you want to print over here. We'll update it to print the title, and the title we're giving it here, it's going to be let's say population. Let's say this is K. So obviously outside the for loop, print population will not be a problem. Here it's printing population, but it's not indented. It's not look great. So you need to add space, but you don't know how much space you want to add. Because let's say the title is small. So generally, the maximum, the biggest element in this loop is 100. So it should be around center aligned. So to know the value of it, max value, take the maximum element, that's 100, and divide that by 2. So we'll name this one space. Space would be space times max LSD. This will give you the maximum value, and divide that by 2. I'm using integral division, so you don't. And we'll just add space to our title. There, if I run it, space out properly, and okay, let's say if I drop 100 to 60, let's run that. That's more, it's working great. So we'll just back it up to 100. There, and let's say you want these semicolons right here. They look like your x-axis, yeah, y-axis. I don't remember nicely, but let's say you want to make this one this axis. So for that, we'll create a string called end, and the end will be this value times max. Because you want to print half the line. You don't want to print half of the line, you want to print the whole line. So now we'll run it like this, and I forgot to print it over here, so I'll just print end, and I'll run it. And as you will see, it should be before it, so yeah. So I'll just print end, and yeah, it should be back outside the for loop, and we'll run it there. Now if you see, there is some lining up issue because of all the spaces we have here, so I'll add 5 spaces to equalize for this value. 1 2 3 4 5, and run it, and yeah, it's still not lining because of that. So 6 spaces, we'll run it again, and there, boom, perfect. So that's how I came up with these codes with the, you can see. So I'll just delete this and finish this and then run it. Same output, so great. So we'll move on. So save it. So now I'll move on to another problem, that is double character. Okay, we'll go to the logic one. So I'll do the logic problem and then the double character. So logic problem is basically, you might have heard of it, is basically you have n lights, okay? At first, all lights are off. All lights are off. Then, light at the first position, all the first position will get on. All the first positions means that all lights will turn on the second step. Then on the third step, all the multiples of 2 will get turned on, then 3 multiples, 4 multiples, this till we reach n. So basically this will be in range of 1 to n. That's what we need to switch off. After all this, we need to print the number of on lights. This problem, you can replace the lights with window close on or like that too, but in this case we're taking lights. So how will you tackle this question? So from the basics, we'll just create a switch list. As start, we know it's off, and off times, and what will that do? So if I just say, let's assume n to be 100, but it's pretty big value, take 20 or even 3 for just basic understanding. Okay, later I'll test it out with 100 also, it will work. So if I print off times 3, and I'll just hash this print code, and it will print off 3 times in the list. So that's what this does. So it will create a list with n elements, n off elements. Okay, then what are we doing? So basically for I in range length of switch, so let's say its length is do we even need length? I don't know, do we even need length, because apparently the length is same as n. So in range we can use n, and let me just test it. It should give me, that's correct, in range n. Okay, then in the next we'll take x in range 1 with n plus 1. That means from same 1 to 20. So the first list first from 0 to 20, and you'll say that 0 to 2, because we're taking 3, 0 to 2, and in the next it is 1 to 2, and 1 to 3, and yeah. You'll say why is this like that, because the range operator is designed for a list, and you know the list indexing, if the length of the list is 10, the indexing of the list would be from 0 to 9. That's how it is designed. So you need to add 1 for if you want to get 1. And the way it works is I mod x. So you want every one. So with 100, every value is divisible by 1. Okay, 0 is also divisible by 1. So that's why all of the values will turn on. Okay, all of these switches will turn on. So the code, how it works is I mod x is equal to 0. So if the value I is divisible by x, that means that is the correct location we want. Then switch I, that means ith term in the list switch would be on. Else If it is not divisible, then ith element in ith element in switch would be off. Okay, after doing this, we are using a counter function from collections. So let me demonstrate what that will do. So let's say you want to know how many on switches are there, how many you want to know the occurrence of an element in a list. Let's create a list and we'll use counter. So let's say occurrence is equals to counter, and we'll just pass in a sample list with on, off, and off. So this is our counter list. And we'll just print occurrence, and what will we get? We'll get a dictionary, okay, with on as to there are two on elements and one off string, basically. Let's say you want to know how many on are there, so you'll use indexing and use on. So if you run it, you'll get 2. So that's how this works. So that's how the last bit of the code works. And now let's just test it with 3. We'll run it. We'll get 1. So instead of 3, let's just use 100 for a bigger sampling rate to check how time it will just happen quickly. Let's try this value. It will take a bit time because it has to go such a long list to check this. So I'll just stop it because it's pretty big value. And I'm not running it offline on my computer. I'm running it to server, and also latency is added, so it will take an extra amount of time, a couple of milliseconds, but there. So we'll run it, saved it, and we'll run it. With 10,000 also is taking time because we are sampling so much value. So 1,000 will also take a lot of time because you have to print. Okay, you have to check with each element. So 1,000 it did, but 10,000 will take a lot of time. So that's here. Let's save it, and we'll go to the next question, that is double character. So what is double character? So here, if you see the, let's say the question is that, let's say that you're given a string THE. So you want the output to be THEE. So each character in the string is now being doubled. So you want to print the string, and it's not simple as doing THE times 2, as this would give you THE. And why? Because multiplication is repeated addition, and when that means you're adding a string to itself 2 times. So yeah, that will be, it will concatenate the string. So instead here, that's my solution over there. If you see that I'm using this way of doing it, using can be complex. So I'll just show you a really intuitive way of doing this. So we'll use double character, and many beginners who are starting out in Python with for loops know. Here I can even define a result right here. So the way this will work is we have a for loop with e and string. So we're checking one element of the string, and result dot append. So result is a list that we defined, and here, so we defined it in this namespace right there. So we'll append e times 2, and at the end we'll just return this value using a dot join method with the result. Here, result, and we'll run this. Let's see what happens. Missing one argument. Okay, sorry, I forgot. So it should be this. There. Here we'll print the output we want. This is one way of doing it, but I did it this way. Why? But just compare these two pieces of code. Which one looks better? Honestly, this for loop with the syntax like that, or this loop, right? So yeah. So instead of this for loop, I went for this solution, which it's not that difficult to understand. And here I'm using a list comprehension for x and x in string. Okay. I think I don't really need this line, so if I just give it to this one, will give the correct answers. Yeah, just 2 lines of code. And basically result is a function. So what you're doing is using the map function. What does map function do? You give it a sub function, you give it a function and give it a input value to work with, and it will map it to each element, let's say each character of that string, of that list, of that list, in with this function. So we're just telling it to double this. So let's say if I give it a list with values 1 and 2, what will it return? So let's say sequence item string in syntax because we're printing. That's why. So this function is only designed with strings. Okay. So we'll print the, though that's this. So we're mapping this function. This is a lambda, a anonymous function. It takes input x and it will give you 2 times x. And then we're just joining it in string. So that's how we do it using this method. Now let's just try some values like he dash LLO. Run it 2 times h, 2 times AI. So that's very good. So save it and we'll go to count even. So what's count even? So basically we're given a list. So let's take 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you have to create a list, so you have to give the output of the list such that it contains only even values. So you're given a list with even and odd values, you have to return a list with only even values. And you don't have to really return this list, you have to return the number of even items in the list. So just use length function to give that, or you can just use a function. So I'll show you what that means. So here I'm using lambdas and a filter function this time instead of map. But let's just try the intuitive way most people will do it. So one way of doing this is using a counter and setting that to 0. You can even set it to save space, just set it here. Counter is equal to 0. After setting the counter to 0, then you can say for loop for e and even if e mod 2 is equal to 0. So if you don't know what the modulus function does, it basically gives you the remainder. Okay, let's say if you divide 2 values, like 2 divided by 2, your quotient will be 1, your remainder will be 0. So that means if the value is divisible by 2, because you know if a value is multiple of 2, it is even. So that's what we're checking here. If it's even, then counter is equal to counter plus 1. Many people will be cringing here and saying that you should use plus equal to. This is one way of doing it, and plus equal to is another way. And there, at the end, just return counter, and that's your done. It will print 3. This with the for loop would take 1, 2, 3, with even the pivots come 1, 2, 3, 4 lines of code after the function defining line compared to 2. So if it's being more efficient, then use this method here. So result is a list. Okay, so result is basically what we're doing. We're using a filter function, which if you give it a conditional function, and it will use one. Let's say even is a list, so it will take one element from even. Okay, check with this condition given to it. Well, if it satisfies it, it will append it to itself, because filter itself is a object. That object we convert to a list and then print the length of the list. So that's how we do it. So this is a lambda you're using here. Let's try what happens if you use a map function. I don't know. Let's check. It should work. It will give you 5 instead of there, because this really is not designed for these type of values. Filter function is designed to filter out the values. So that both functions work in a different way. So yeah, this is our program there. We'll save it and we'll go to our next one. that is list less than 10. So the problem that is given to you, you're given a list, so with some values like I'll just quickly type some values. Now you have to give a list, okay, which has values less than 10. I have here given a check while, so just advanced, so any value can be passed. Instead of check while, you can use 10, okay, but my function name is check, not less than 10, so that's why I have using check while instead, so it's more flexibility to the function. This should output 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 0. Okay, what I'm doing here is basically using filter function again. So to check that, it will take in each element of the list, check if it's less than or equal less than the value, check value provided. If it is, it will, if it satisfies this, then it will append it to the list, append it to itself, and then filters itself object. We convert that object to list, we get results. Same in result, what we're doing now is we're converting each value in it to a string so that we can print it using the .join method. Intuitive way of doing this would be to find this, would just hash out this. So define check, we'll pass in the list and check wall, and even we'll give, don't know if you require a result or not. So there are two ways, either to append the correct values to another list or pop the elements that are not. So if I use the pop method there, so let's say for e in list, if e is less than the check wall, okay, then do nothing. So we'll use the not operator. If not e, then pop the value. So we'll say list dot pop, and the element is e. If we're running this list, we return this list. The problem will come, so we need to even convert these values to a string. So beforehand, can I do it? Beforehand, say list, and then a list comprehension to make the code small. So doing a string x or x in list. Okay. So pop the elements. Pop the elements that are greater than or equal to the check value. And at the end, we'll return the value, the dot. So with the return method, we'll just return our list. Yeah, comparison that won't really work. So we need to convert this list so we need to convert this list after checking and popping the elements. Run pop index out of each, so we'll take index 0. So yeah, instead of pop, because pop takes index and I'm stupid, so instead of popping these values, let's just append it to a result. And the best thing is you don't need to use a list comprehension to convert it to a string so that you can print it. So that's another benefit you have. So just result dot append value e, and we'll just convert it to string, and we'll just return using the dot join method. Result, and we'll run it. Let's see what we get. Yeah, 112358. Right, and just compare it to this code. 3 lines which look much better than this for loop and all. So now I'll just run it here. Essentially it's just the same thing but minified. We'll save it. We'll go to my projects and list lessons done. We'll now do a very famous thing, that's the palindrome checker. Okay, so this is my code here, and when I was a beginner, what I used to do for the palindrome was define palindrome s, return if s is equal to s minus 1. This is what I used to do, but the problem with this is that this would return, this would work only for values like an and a, but not a string like Santa at NASA. Won't work for that. For those cases, you need to use this one. There. So what I'm doing is I am taking each value from s, okay, from the string s. I'm taking value x from it, that's one character, and converting it to lowercase, because palindromes are case sensitive, that's why. So we're converting all values to lower. Then we use the filter function. This time the condition we pass in that if, because in a string there are spaces like Santa at NASA. There are spaces, and so it will append empty elements to it, empty strings. So to avoid that, we filter out the empty elements with this code line. Then we check if this list this is equal to just this. And here we are taking a string input from our user. So the input we take, we convert to a string. Check if it's a palindrome. Yes or no. So we'll just run it. Here, so we'll enter a string is Santa at NASA. And I'll print yes, it is. So let's try it with numbers like 1990. Yes, it will say it is. So great code, it works. So there. Thank you guys. That's it. Thank you for watching my video. So we'll see you next time.